But the name, Jazz Tech, all best in the game. Mamba mentality in his own lane, so better pay attention to what he be saying. Get the message, ain't no question. Welcome to the broadcast, the Jazz Tech podcast.
Welcome to the Jazz Tech podcast, episode 253. I was actually just getting ready for the JTP calls that we're going to be doing, and I forgot to say, hey. This, again, is episode 253, and we're going to be speaking about how to maximize more referrals so you can do more deals. But before I go into that, I want to make sure that you know that you can get on a free 10-minute coaching call with me live on the Jazz Tech podcast. All you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call. This is where you get to pick my brains on anything that's going on in your business, how to do more deals, how to get more referrals, the topic that we're going to be speaking about today, how to generate more business in general, what to do with your schedule, what to do on a daily basis. This is where you get to pick my brain, and all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call. At the end of the meat of today's episode, I always make a live outbound coaching calls to answer those questions. As I mentioned, today's topic is maximizing referrals for more deals. But before I even actually go into how to get more referrals and why you should be working with referrals, people that are being introduced to you, what is a referral? Not a lot of people understand what an actual referral is and what it takes for someone to actually go out on a limb and introduce you to their friend, family member, colleague, neighbor. So a referral, simply put, is when a person that has done business with you in the past is currently doing business with you, or someone in your network introduces you to a family member, a friend, a colleague. Now, understand the importance of what it actually takes for someone to do that. Think about the last time maybe you gave out an introduction or a referral for a barber, maybe for a painter, maybe even a restaurant or a movie. See, in our business, this is a very high ticket item. It's a very stressful process for home buyers, home sellers, people who are looking for mortgages or loans, or an investor that wants to create wealth. It's a stressful process. We kind of know it, especially if you've been in the business for a long period of time. We kind of know the ins and outs, and we're comfortable with handling the stress of other people. However, when someone's going through the process of actually buying, selling, investing, or financing, they're very stressed. There's a lot that they don't know. And so they're looking for professionals. Now, in today's day and age, a lot of people reach out to someone that they know and ask for that introduction, right? They're going to check in with a family member or someone at their work and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing something in real estate. I'm thinking about doing something in terms of mortgages. Do you know anyone? Now, what you want to be as the real estate professional, top of mind for the people in your network. So again, I want to make sure that you understand what a referral is. Simply put, it's an introduction made by someone to you. Simply put. Now, why is it that you want to focus on your business being mostly referrals and or repeat clients? Repeat client is simply anybody who's done business with you in the past, them doing it with you. But the average person knows 200 people. Like, you might be watching this right now or listening to this and say, Jazz, I don't think I even know 200 people. Well, if you think about it, if you look into your phone book, in your contact list on your phone, if you go into your social media, if you go into anything like in your inbox, you probably could get about 200 people's names and numbers. Well, the average person also knows 200 people that knows 200 people. So your network now is close to 40,000 people. Look, I have a database of a little over 13,000 people right now. I have done approximately, I think we're upwards about 4,000 to 5,000 transactions in my career. Now, I'm not even looking for necessarily the people to do business with me again, because some of them will, some of them won't. Maybe they're never going to do real estate again. What I'm looking for is the introduction to their friends and family members. Why? Well, because they're just easier to work with. See, most people hang around people that are similar to them. If you think about yourself right now, the people that you usually hang out with, your family, your friends, 5, 6, 7 people, like start thinking about those 5 to 6 people right now. They're probably similar to you. That doesn't mean like 100% exactly the same as you, but very similar. They have similar likes, probably some similar dislikes. They like kind of the same movies. They like some of the same restaurants. You guys, otherwise, like it would be tough to be hanging out with them on a regular basis if you guys were completely different. There has to be some similarities. Well, when you get introduced to someone in your network, you're working with someone who is similar. So the process of you helping them buy, sell, or invest is going to be very similar, right? Like you know who you're working with. You know what some of the things that they're going to like. It's very easy to build rapport when I've worked with Bo as a real estate agent, and then Bo introduces me to his cousin or his best friend, because I now can do what I call build the triangle of trust. So when someone actually introduces you, so in this example, Bo introducing me to his cousin, the first thing I'm going to do on that phone call or that first meeting, that first consultation we have, is I'm going to transfer the trust. And I call it the triangle of trust, okay? One of my favorite movies, Meet the Parents, side note. I mean, they call it the circle of trust, Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller. But for this purpose, I call it the triangle of trust. And what do I mean? What am I actually saying to Bo's cousin? Well, thank you, for meeting with me, Bo's cousin. I obviously know you guys are related. And if they were colleagues or friends, I might go into like, how did you guys meet? If they were friends, like, tell me that story kind of thing. The reason I'm doing that and saying that right at that first point of contact is because I want to remind Bo's cousin that, hey, like, Bo did business with me. And so I'm hoping Bo already made the introduction to his cousin. So there's already some trust now, but this is the first time I'm speaking to Bo's introduction, Bo's cousin. And so I need to just make sure I transfer that trust, and then it's all three of us are connected. Again, a lot of things that I tell you through this podcast, for the people who've come to my workshops, for the people that are in my coaching program, you're never going to bat 1,000. Not everything I tell you will always work. I'm not here to tell you and lie to you and bullshit to you. What we're always doing is we're stacking the cards in our favor. And this is one way of doing that, transferring the trust between myself as the real estate professional, the person that I've done business with in the past, Bo in this example, and now the new prospect, the new referral, the introduction that I got, his cousin. Another reason why we want to work with referrals is that it doesn't really cost us anything. There's no cost of acquisition for that client. Right? Because if you do cold advertising, Facebook, Instagram, Google, billboards, there's a cost associated with it. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's what advertising is. It costs you money to acquire a new lead. In this example, with Bo introducing his cousin, there's no cost. It's the beautiful word of mouth selling that some of my older vets in the business have been accustomed to hearing, because I now can acquire this new introduction, Bo's cousin, without costing me any money up front. Those are the two main reasons why you want to work with referrals. Now, let's go right into the meat of this conversation. How do we actually get more referrals? So number one, you got to be referable. I'm going to say that again. The number one way to get more referrals is become more referable. What does that really mean though, Jazz? I get it. You need to leave a lasting impression with Bo, the person that you did business with. And a lasting impression is done through an experience. Look, there's about 1.7 million real estate professionals and loan officers in North America. We're all a little different, but the process and how we help people is similar, not 100% the same, but very similar in terms of the process. Now, what a client remembers, though, the most is the experience, that being a positive, memorable experience or a negative, memorable experience. So that's why I have this right at the top, being more referable and giving a better experience for people to remember. What you want to do is provide world-class service. Now, how do you know if you're providing world-class service? Because just saying that on your business card or saying that in an email or saying that on social media, that's not good enough. That's you speaking about it. Like, everyone obviously knows that you're not going to say, like, I give the worst experience and I don't provide good service. I'm not that honest. I don't have integrity, but come and work with me. That would be nonsense, right? So I know that you think that you're providing world-class service. What really matters, though, is what the perception is by people who have done business with you. So how do you actually know? What I've always done in my 30 years in sales and service, the 20 years in real estate, is I'm counting wows. I'm counting in my head how many times the person I'm working with currently, how many times the person that I worked with in the past, did they say, wow, that was nice. Wow, thank you for doing that. Wow, I really appreciate that. Because as you build more wows, you're building this positive, memorable experience, which is going to help you become more referable. Because what Bo's going to do, if I gave him a positive, memorable experience, when his cousin, someone at his office speaks about real estate, buying, selling, investing, or getting financing, refinancing, he's going to say, you got to work with Jazz. I mean, I got to tell you, he did this, he did this, he did this. I'm actually going to go into what this is and give you some actual tactical ways to make people say, wow, I've been doing this for 20 years, this exact strategy, which is I build my business and my processes and my systems through a before, during, after checklist. Before I even start with the client, during the client process, and then after. This is for providing wow and world-class service, get more wows, providing world-class service to get more wows so you can become more referable and maximize more referrals to do more deals. The first thing that I do is when I'm meeting with a client in person, 98% of the time those meetings are done at my office, I simply put, for 20 years I've been doing this, it cost me about 2 cents. So I really want you to take this tactic I'm giving you. This is part of the before I even meet Bo's cousin or the client that I'm working with. I put their name on a piece of paper on a stand. The stand cost me about $4 from Staples. The piece of paper, black and white, is 3 cents, 2 cents, I think it costs me. And all it says, welcome, Bo, 10:30 a.m. Why do we do that? Well, I know, and I've come to realize, and you'll agree or disagree in the comments, is that we as human beings love to hear our name and see our name. It's just one of those things. It's like, the first thing that we were kind of given, right after we were born, right? Like we had the name. And so we've always, I think as humans, like to hear it and see it. And so for 20 years, I've been putting people's names on pieces of paper. And there's going to be a lot of people who are watching this and listening to this, and they're going to say, yeah, I've seen my name on a piece of paper before. 2 cents, guys. It takes like 2 minutes to do. If you're at your office, all you got to do is call your front desk and ask them to print that piece of paper and put it on a stand, buy the stand from Staples. That is why. Why am I doing that? Well, out of the thousands upon thousands, not hundreds, thousands upon thousands of people who have seen their name on a piece of paper at my office, 90%, I'm not going to say 99.9 even, 90% of people, the first thing they say to me is, wow, thank you for taking the time to do that. Or, wow, that was nice. Or they smile. Now, 10% of the time, they didn't see it. Maybe they didn't even mention it to me. Now, in the last 2-3 years, out of the thousands, Hundreds of people take a picture of it, put it on social media. I hope you're getting I hope you're catching on to something here. They take a picture of it, put it on social media, and tag me. Free. Didn't cost me anything to get that picture done. Yes, it cost me the $4 stand and the 2 cents of printing, but simply put, just put their name on it. We're gonna start stacking wows. Now, during this consultation, that when I'm sitting with them, I'm making sure that I'm taking notes, because just like a doctor or a lawyer that you go meet, or some other consultant that you meet, when you are the actual consumer or client, you want to make sure that they're taking notes, because if they're not taking some type of notes, how are they going to remember all the stuff that you're telling them? Flip it to our business. Real estate agents just ask, or mortgage brokers just ask questions. They don't take any notes. It starts to make the prospect, customer, client feel like we're not taking them seriously. We're not giving them the respect this deserves. They're buying something for $500,000. You're making 10 grand on it. Take some notes, ask questions. And I let the client know, hey, I'm just taking notes so I don't forget anything. I can also send you a copy of this. Side note, that's always helped me when I say I'm going to send you a copy of it, or if there's a recording, because we're doing it on Google Meet, I always say, hey, like, I'm recording this so I don't forget anything, and then I can send you this recording. It's just giving the respect that this whole process deserves. Now, during showings and or listing their property, I'm making sure that there's touch points in my process that I'm making sure that they're saying more wows. What are some ways of doing that? Well, when I'm showing the properties, I'm not the agent that does the look at this beautiful kitchen, Bo, and look at the granite countertops, the quartz countertops. Bo's not an idiot. He knows what a kitchen looks like. He knows what a bathroom looks like. The first thing I say before we go into this home, this is exactly how I speak to the client on showings. Before we go into this home, I just wanted to let you know, and moving forward as we see more homes, is I'm going to open the door for you. I'm here to answer any questions you have. Majority of the answers I'll know already. If you ask me something that I don't know, I'm just going to I'm going to go find the answer for you. We don't have all the answers, but we know the people who know the people that have all the answers. As we go into this property, Bo, I'm going to be on the main floor, and I'm going to go upstairs really quickly, just turn on all the lights if the seller didn't do that, and take a look around. You're going to probably know within the first 5-10 minutes if this is something that you're interested in. You're not hurting my feelings if in the first 5 seconds you realize you don't want this home. Let's get out. We have others to go see. So see how I make it about themselves? Because I'm wanting Bo to not, especially if it's the first time I'm doing showings with him and his partner, I don't want him to feel like I'm going to follow them around and then they can't speak about the property. They got to hold back because they think they're going to hurt my feelings, or they don't want the salesperson, the real estate agent, to know what they're really talking about. So just give them the time. Go walk around, go chill. And when they go upstairs, I'm downstairs. When they come downstairs, I go upstairs. I kind of just stay away from them. That's been my approach since day one, since for 20 years that I've been showing properties, because I just found that the buyers know. The second they kind of walk in, I tell them that in the first 10, 15 minutes, but they probably know within the first 15 seconds. On the listing side, how do I get some wows? Well, I make sure that every time something gets done for a listing, I send it to the client. They might be a nuisance to them because they might get a lot of emails. Nowadays, what we do is we just have a Google Sheet and we just update the Google Sheet as things get done. Great book. I've mentioned it before. It's called Selling the Invisible by Harry Beckwith is the author. Harry Beckwith is the author, Selling the Invisible. And what he speaks about in this book, and this is exactly where I took it from, is that you need to sell the invisible, because clients, especially in the real estate business, clients think we don't do much. We put up a for sale sign in a lockbox and then the house sells in 4 hours and then we make 10 grand, right? We know that's not true. There's like 58 things that get done before the property even gets listed, and then another 58 while there's an offer. So you know what these things are because you do them. Just put it into an Excel sheet, a Google sheet, because the Google sheet will update and they'll have access to it. populate the sheet already. And then as you do things, for example, like a pre-listing inspection, maybe you have to order some brochures, whatever it is, just have a check mark or highlight those so the client knows what you're doing. How many times have you heard from a client, and hopefully not too many, but I know you have, and I have in the past too. This is why I built certain systems and processes in place. And the client says, you know what, like, you're not really doing much, right? Or you like, I don't think you deserve this commission, or I'm not going to give you a price reduction. You haven't done anything. And you're sitting back saying, holy shit, man, I did like 106 things already, but they didn't know. So you can't blame them. So why not just bring it to the forefront? Now, that's before, during, after, to help with this positive, memorable experience, to get more wows, which will then get you more referrals. And I'm going to talk about the word that I want you to use in the marketplace with the public, and it's not referrals. I'll tell you that in a minute. Now, what about after? So one tactic that has always done really, really well for me is that as a buyer, when I'm working with a buyer client and they're moving on move-in day, you can imagine it's a very stressful day. They got to speak with the lawyers. They're on pins and needles in general anyways. Like, when's this closing? Generally, closings happen in and around 4 to 5 p.m. You know, sometimes they go a little bit later. Sometimes they're slightly earlier. But in most major cities, that's the rush hour. And sometimes the lawyer's on one end of the city and the house that they bought is on the other end. And then they got to go pick up the keys. The agents don't show up. Here's what I do. I tell the client, there's going to be some turbulence along the way on closing day at times. I just want you to know, Bo, the client, that I'm not going to jump out of the plane and tell you that you're on your own. You got me, and I got you as well. I got you covered. What I'm going to do is on closing, I'm going to make sure that the client doesn't have to go to the lawyer to pick up the keys. Because again, it could be on the other end of the city during rush hour. And so all I do is I tell the client, can you just send an email to the lawyer and authorize that I can pick up the keys? I pick up the keys and show up to the property. If I can, I try to get there about an hour before the client. Why? Because how many times have you went into a property that you're closing on closing day, move-in day, and even though you had the clause in there that says the property needs to be left in a vacant, vacant as well as clean debris condition, but it's a friggin' disaster when you go in, right? You can alleviate some of that by showing up earlier than the client and calling a cleaning service. Now, the client's going to come. The house is not going to get cleaned in an hour. I understand that. Even if it's a condo, it's not going to get cleaned in an hour. But at least you were proactive. As the client meets you at the front, you can say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, we had the clause in there that it needed to be kept clean. However, it wasn't. I'm not happy with it. I already have a cleaner. She's in there. They're doing their thing. Why don't we go grab a bite to eat in the meantime? Let's go have that champagne that we were going to have inside the home. We'll have it in there as well, but let's go have a drink and let's go have some food, and then you come back. Now, if the property's left the way that it should have been left, and you know they're moving that day, another little strategy to get a wow, especially if you know that they're moving with friends. If they're using a moving company, it's not going to be the same. But if they're moving, you know, people do the whole, like, to get their whole family and their friends to help them move. I always tell the client on moving day, just so you know, the pizza, the beers, it's all like going to be delivered. You guys just focus on, you have enough of a headache. So these are some certain ways that you can get wows. Now, you got to brainstorm, obviously, a little bit more than that to find ways, more ways to get people to say wow. Because as they say wow, you're going to start to give them that positive, memorable experience to get more referrals. Now, how do you also actually get more referrals? So giving them a positive, memorable experience is number one. Number two, you got to stay in touch. You got to stay in touch. This is why we send out the emails every other week. We're trying to stay top of mind here. We want people to think of us as real estate professionals, real estate agents and mortgage brokers, when they're about to go into the process themselves, obviously, but more importantly, when they hear someone. How many times have you thought of something, i.e. you bought a brand new red car, and then you see them all over the place. It's not a quinky dink. It's because there's a reticular activator system in your brain. You started to think about it, and now you start to see them. They were there the whole time. It's the same thing with when you're sending out emails and your network sees you on social media. They go to work and someone mentions something about the process in real estate, and, oh, that's funny that you say that. I have an agent who just sent me an email for an event. I have an agent who just sent me in his bi-weekly newsletter. I just saw my agent on social media. Let me share this video. Side note, why you want to get on social media is because it's a lot easier for people to share a video of yours than tell them about, than have them tell them, have them tell their friends about you. Because they have to go out on a limb, right? I mentioned this earlier. They have to go out on a limb because what if you don't provide good service that one time? That's what's going on in your friends and family's minds, just so you know. I'm not sure if I want I want to tell them about Jazz because what if he doesn't give them service and then Clyde, my cousin, is not going to be happy? So you know what? I'm just not going to refer them out, right? So you know that they have to, when somebody gives you a referral, it's such a big deal. You got to make it a big deal as well. So when Bo does tell his cousin about you or about me, I'm going to call Bo right away. Thank you so much for thinking of me, man. It really, truly means the world to me. You could have thought of anyone. More importantly, you probably could have thought of nobody because you were worried about going out on a limb. So thank you so much. You got, I can't tell you how many times I hear people not giving an update to the person who's giving the referral. Bo in this example. You got to make sure that you keep them in the loop as well, right? Hey, I'm going to start showings now with this person and I just listed their property. Hey, they just bought. Thanks again. I always take care of my friends, just so you know, for the guys and gals that are watching and listening, thinking about what do I give as gifts? I don't give a standard gift to anybody who buys a property and or anybody who refers me to their family, friends, or colleagues. What I do is I get to know the person, right? So I'm going to go on Bo's social media and I'm going to see, all right, this, he likes editing and he likes to capture content. Maybe a nice little gift for Bo would be a new camera after he gives me a couple of referrals. Something of that sort. If you see somebody who loves the Dallas Cowboys, like this guy right here, I'm going to go try to find an authentic jersey maybe that I can send out. So one way, you got to become more referable. Number two, you got to follow up. You got to send these emails. You got to do the social media. You got to make your quarterly phone calls because you're staying on top of mind. And number three, is probably the most forgotten, is asking. You got to ask. Some people don't know. Some people would think, especially for my busier agents, and I've been through this, Jazz doesn't need the business. He's all over the place. He does so many deals. I hear him on podcasts talk about it. I see his content. He's doing amazing. He doesn't need the business. So I make sure that I get in front of that as much as I possibly can by letting people know I'm never too busy. It's the truth. I can take on a lot more business. I have a team. If you're solo, if you don't let people know that you're open for business, there's no wonder why they're not coming to your store being your real estate business. So you got to ask. Now, I don't think you need to be cringe and creepy about it. What you need to do is, especially when you get wows, meaning when you tell the buyer that you're going to pick up the keys and they say, wow, thank you so much, that's an opportunity for you to say, I'm glad that you noticed. I would do this for anyone that you refer me to. I would take care of everyone that you introduce me to with white glove service. Thank you for noticing. That's a way of asking. In your emails, your signature in your emails, you can put that in there. Here's the actual text right at the bottom of your signature. PS, PPS, who's the next person you know that needs my advice? All right. On social media, you can also mention it from time to time. I wouldn't do it every single post, obviously, because that gets to too much. But asking for referrals is something that you have to get comfortable with. Just don't do it every single conversation that you have with people. But if you are giving a positive, memorable experience, they're going to want to give you business. If you're following up, you're staying top of mind. And then all you got to do now is from time to time, ask for the referral. Those are the 3 top ways to maximize referrals to do more deals. Now, I want to make sure that I leave you with what I mentioned earlier. When I'm speaking to the public, I never use the word referrals. Referrals is a business term. It's jargon. It's what we use, as I did today in this episode. So here's what I always use instead of referrals, because it's such a business word that most people put a lot of weight on that word. So what I say is I use the word introductions, because as humans, we're all pretty comfortable giving introductions. We introduce our friends to go on dates. We introduce a barber. We introduce a restaurant. We introduce a new movie, a new music, a piece of content. So what I always say to the public when I'm speaking to any one of my clients, families, friends, I always say, hey, who's the next person you know that would need my advice and you're comfortable introducing them to me? When I send out the message to Bo because he did introduce me to his cousin, thank you so much for the introduction. Not thank you so much for the referral. Thank you so much for the introduction. I know you could say referral, but I want you to start to get into the habit of using the word introduction and introducing me, because it takes away the heaviness of that word and the process of using the word referral. So moving forward, I want you to use the word introduction and introducing that much more. Now, I'm going to jump into some live coaching calls as promised. And if you want to be live on the Jazz Tackar podcast with a free coaching call, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call. ftguacademy.com/call. We're going to make our first call today to Scott. All right. Again, to have your free 10-minute live coaching call with me directly, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call.
This is Scott.
Scott, Jazz Tackar here. You're live on the Jazz Tackar podcast, my man.
How are we doing?
I'm just living the dream, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well, very well. Thanks for calling me.
Well, 100%, buddy. You went to ftguacademy.com/call, and my team did their thing, so I appreciate. Big shout out to my girl Mel, who's chief of staff here, so I appreciate you taking the time as well. Tell me how I can bring you some value today, brother.
Yeah, so I think I commented on your Instagram. You were kind of talking about leads for teams, for team leads. So I was just curious what your mindset and how you guys handle kind of providing value for your team members and how you provide leads for them. Obviously, we know of all the ways to do it, but I would like to know kind of your best, the ways you best seen that, provide leads to your team members.
Perfect. Just give me a little bit more context, if you don't mind, Scott. How long have you been in the business, brother?
Yeah, so I've been in a total of 6 years. I kind of started when I was in college for 4 years, and then, I think it's 7 years now. And then went and worked in corporate, and then came back to my mom has been in it for 23 years. So I kind of came back as more of an operations manager for her team. We have a team of 7 here out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so now my main role now is kind of providing leads for the team and making sure they have business to work. And then, kind of growing that from here. So that's kind of what I've been focused on the last 2 years here is how do we make sure that our team members are busy when they're, slow, and that it's consistent, and that we're providing value outside of, the other things we do to provide value, but from a leads perspective, making sure that everyone has work to do.
Well, look, I mean, first and foremost, I want to congratulate Mom for 23 years, as well as yourself for having the mindset that you need to bring more value to your team members. Not everyone's from that ilk or that thought process, and so I think you're winning already because you're trying to find more ways to bring them value. You're making it about them and not yours and Mom's pockets. And what most people don't understand, in my opinion, or come to understand, is that the more that you think about someone else and building their wealth, you'll have more money for the rest, like for your life, than you ever dreamt up. And so congrats to you guys for that. You said 7 team members. Are those all agents?
So we have one full-time admin, and then I kind of call myself half a team member. I sell on the side, but a lot of my work is kind of on the back end. So we have 5.5 agents.
Okay, perfect. And those agents are helping home buyers, home sellers, investors?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
We do all of them.
perfect. If you don't mind sharing again, just for a little bit more context, last 12 rolling months as a collective, how many transactions would you say you guys did last 12 rolling months?
We average on 12-year about 50 million a year.
50 million a year. Awesome.
In total.
Okay. Yeah. And would you say 50% of the, like, is it a 50-50 ratio, 33 ratio in terms of buyers, sellers, and investors?
I'd say, so, I'll break it down a little further. So Lori, who's my mom, is probably 90% listings, 10% buyers. One of my main roles is kind of getting the, if she's showing a house, I'm doing something wrong kind of thought. Now our team members are kind of probably flipped a little bit. They're more probably like 70 to 60% buyers, 30 to 40% sellers. So they still do list homes, but not as, buyers seem to be kind of the lower hanging fruit for them. And so I would say on an average, we're probably like, 70 buyers, 30% sellers for the team, and then kind of flip flop for Mom for team lead is probably 90% listing.
Okay. And in that 23 years now that Mom's been in the business, what's our CRM look like in terms of numbers? How many people would you say that we have in our CRM approximately?
Yeah. I'll add a little more context. Before I got here, probably 3 years ago, there really wasn't much of a CRM. We're almost an exclusively referral based business. We don't do Zillow, we don't do Realtor.com or any of that. In the last 6 months, we've started to add some PPC, so Google PPC ads, just to start to dive into that. But before that, we still are mostly referral based. So the CRM in total has about 5,000 people in it. I would say the data in there is being actively cleaned up as we speak. So probably about 60 to 70% accurate in there. So I would say probably about 3,000, actual people in there who are viable.
Awesome. So now I'm going to kind of give you my strategy for your team. Here's what I've done, and I can see this work really, really well for you guys. First and foremost, what I would do is make sure that you have a customer service rep now on your team. And that person's role is not an inside sales agent, not an outbound caller. It's a customer service representative. That's the title that I would highly recommend that you put on any job posting, because then you're not trying to get people who are coming in and selling to your clients. What we want to do is just provide, we want the person that we hire to have the mindset, I'm just calling as a customer service representative, make sure that everything's okay with the people in our network. So that's the posting. And what you want this person to do is actually make outbound phone calls 40 hours a week. They're going to call into this 3,000 person database, and they're going to call and ask if the people in that database are getting the emails that you're sending out, which you should be sending out at bare minimum bi-weekly emails. I don't think you need to go weekly, but maybe 3 times a month. There's nothing wrong with that. That person makes those calls, and then as they get the client to say, or the person in your database to say, yes, I am getting those emails. No, I'm not getting those emails. They're cleaning this all up for you, which allows Mom to do what Mom does best, which allows the other 5.5 agents to do what they do best. And then you have the admin person who I feel like is more of a transaction coordinator.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. This way you have one dedicated person making these phone calls, cleaning up this database in the near, like right away. But at the same time, asking the person that they connect with, hey, I'm just, now that I have you on the phone really quickly, with everything that's going on with the interest rate changes, the election that's coming up in 4 or 5, 6 months, there's a lot of talk about what's happening with values and equity. So we started what we call is a real estate action plan. That's kind of our fancy / sexy word for it. It's essentially like a financial checkup from the neck up. It's a portfolio assessment. A lot of our community is reaching out to us asking for this. So we thought, hey, why don't we reach out to everyone else as well? When's usually good for you? So that's the actual script that person's going to use. But here's what's going to happen in the back end, brother, is that you're going to pluck out business and not wait for the referral. Because mom's been I'm not downplaying what she's done by saying the word that she's gotten lucky, because 23 years in the business, that's not luck, that's hard work, obviously. But it's been a lot of inbound referrals, like people saying, you got to use Lori, she's the best agent in Grand Rapids, right? Like, I get that, but now we need to be proactive. Being reactive is never a good strategy in my mind. And so what you're doing with this customer service representative is that they're booking sales appointments for your agents. Your agents are getting business. Now, this is what I've done for 10 years. Out of the 20 years, 10 years ago, I started this. And I can tell you, this is all we've done. Like, in my 20-year career, Scott, I've spent, I think, about 15 grand on like cold advertising. Not to say that I shouldn't do more, or you, the person who's watching and listening right now, shouldn't do more. It's just that this has been the right way for me, is that I go out and pluck out business. I give, for the 10 years, I give that to my agents at 50-50. They're getting business from my CRM, especially with your guys' number at 3,000. You can do at least bare minimum. So here's kind of like the math on it. Off the top of my head, I don't know your state in terms of what minimum wages and stuff like that is, but you're probably looking at about a $45,000 salary, $40,000 salary for the CSR. But out of the 3,000 people, after it all trickles down to the appointments and how many all that kind of stuff, you're probably looking at approximately an extra 100 deals a year.
Wow. Okay.
Like it's huge. Because I can tell you, so I have a team of 40 agents, okay, to give you some context. And none of this stuff is to impress you, but it's more that you shared. And so sometimes I even forget them on like live or anything like that. I just have a conversation like I'm having with you, Scott. Is that I have 40 agents. Out of the 40 agents, 35 of them all do their own business. They're self-sufficient. I don't give any leads to those 35 agents. They're with us from an accountability perspective and a community perspective, not because I give them leads. Then there's 5 people on my team, 5 agents, that get majority of the business out of my database. My database is just a little bit larger than yours because I've been nurturing this database for the 20 years. Okay, so mine's at like a little north of 13,000 now. We do, as a team, we do 600 transactions, but out of that, my 5 agents with my database, we do 200. And we get those 200 transactions all through the process I just gave you, brother. That's it. Like,
and sorry.
No, go ahead.
What's the cadence? So like, are you, let's say they, it takes, I don't know how long that would take to get through, but whatever that time frame is, are you kind of restarting the clock once they've, called all 3,000 hypothetically?
Yeah. So I restart the clock. So essentially what I do is I send an email every other week and we make calls to our clients every 4 months. So 3 times a year.
Okay.
It actually ends up being a little bit more than that if you add the third pillar that I think you and mom, like I'm speaking to you for 11 minutes. I can kind of get an idea that you're not, shy in terms of being worried about the sound of your voice. Mom obviously has so much experience. The third pillar being events. Because when you put on events, webinars and in-person events, that's another touch point for your database. But it also gives the CSR a reason to make a phone call. So
Gotcha.
like all the hoopla around the emails being sent out, putting on events, for me, it's for one central reason: to book more sales appointments. So
Yep.
I'll call people and they say, I can't make the event. No problem. Now that I have you on the phone really quickly, and then I go right into it. That
Gotcha.
makes
And
sense?
do you try it in that call? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Sorry, and you were really quickly, you said on that call?
Yeah, real quick. So are you also trying to get into their sphere as well? So like if they don't want the checkup, do you know anyone looking for, is that kind of language?
Yeah. So I mean, the episode I did today was asking for referrals. We'll ask for that once in a year. So I don't want it to sound like every time, because we call these guys 3 times a year. We're not going to do that every single time. We do go into asking for introductions for other people, like within other people's spheres, when we're working with the client, but not on that call. Because here's the thing, right? I'm just trying to get top of mind, and so that CSR. Do you have a team name, by the way?
This is Zoco Team. Yep.
Okay, so sorry, say that again because you just cut out.
Yeah, Zoco Team.
Zoco Team. So the CSR is going to say, hey, it's Joe calling from the Zoco Team, and we just wanted to, and then you're also now branding your team a little bit more as well.
Right.
Big shout out to the Zoco Team. Go check them out if you ever need anything from Grand Rapids.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Brother.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I'm glad that I brought some value to the conversation, brother.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
I hope everyone caught what I said there to Scott, right? Like all the emails out, the setting up the events, it's for one reason, so I can make phone calls before the event and then after the event. While I'm sending out emails, after I send out emails, it's all to get people on the phone to then get them to the next stage of the process, which is a consultation, which then will hopefully lead to a transaction. You got to go through that process. You can't just jump hoops when it comes to such a big ticket like real estate. Let me get into the next call here. Again, to get your live call on JTP, go to ftguacademy.com/call. Harmanjeet?
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing? It's Jazz Takar calling. You're live on the Jazz Takar podcast, brother.
I'm great. Jazz, how are you?
I'm amazing, man. Just living the dream, man.
Great, man.
How can I bring you some value today, brother?
So Jazz, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Essentially, me and a partner, we're working in pre-construction, and that's a big segment of our business that we've tried to go ahead and scale since the start of the year. I've done a little bit in resale, right? But we're just trying to perfect our method now. I've done a couple of worksheets here and there. I think like the biggest challenge that we've just been facing is how to handle all the leads that we're getting. We're generating them online through paid platforms. I think like if I was to ask you, I guess one question, it would just be like, I noticed that a lot of these leads are kind of wasted and in the sense that they're bad or we get incorrect information. What would be the best way to deal with that? And I think mentally it's just a lot as well to make, hundreds of calls a day. We've been doing it and we have a proof of concept, but it's just getting through that. I mean, what would be your advice on that?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, you hit it, brother. It's more of a mental game. I think it's safe to say it's probably 90% in your situation. I generally say it's like 80%, mentality and mindset, and then 20% the actual tactic. But in your situation, I would say it's 90-10 because you said something which was, we already have the proof of concept. So you know that this works. Now it's a matter of getting over the hurdle of understanding the most important aspect when you're dealing with leads, warm leads, cold leads, I don't care where they're coming from. And it's having this mindset. And so I would put a massive friggin' sign wherever you and your partner make phone calls or wherever you guys congregate on a regular basis, your office, which says sort, do not convince. Why is that important? Because what you need to always understand that you have to sort through mickeymouse@hotmail.com, 96711 phone numbers, because there will be, based on what you told me, you have the proof of concept that there's always a deal that comes out of the 500 or the 1,000 garbage ones. You've chosen, from the sounds of it, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to make an assumption, you chose to go down the route of generating business through cold leads, Facebook, Google AdWords, especially in the pre-con world. Now, if you did that, but yet you still have proof of concept, you just got to go through the bullshit. You got to go through the whole bullshit of those Mickey Mouse at hotmail.coms and the 967 1111s. And I can tell you with 30 years of sales and service, man, I always emphasize that because I want people to know, like, look, I would be the biggest idiot in the world if I didn't pick up on some patterns along the way. And the biggest pattern that I picked up on is that I'm not into convincing people and manipulating them. I'm just about sorting to see who's ready right now, who's going to be ready in 3 to 6 months, who's going to be okay with me staying in touch. And then the fourth one being who doesn't want me to stay in touch, or I have to throw in the garbage anyways because I don't have the right phone number for them. Like, I don't blame the prospect when they're going online, especially in our city here in the Greater Toronto area. When it comes to pre-con, they put their name and phone number on 57 agents' websites, right? And they don't even understand how it all kind of works in the back end. So I don't blame them, but what we have to do, and more importantly, you, Harmanjeet, have to do is just have the mindset that you're just sorting all day, bro, all day. So like, I'll add more to it. I'll peel back the curtains. My real estate business, 20 years, my team's doing their thing. I've now obviously started a coaching academy, FTGU Academy, in the last 2.5, 3 years. It's cool because it's cool for me to speak about because I'm not talking about what I did 20 years ago in my real estate business. In my coaching academy, it's the same thing, man. I bring people into my database, I give them value, and then people reach out and say, hey, man, like, can I learn a little bit more about your coaching programs? And I just sort. I let people know what the cost of the investment is in terms of money and time, what they can expect. Some will, some won't. So what? Now, the other thing that I would add to what you're doing is, how many years has it been in the business for you guys? Did you just start this year?
So I've been doing resale for quite some time, since 2021. And with pre-con, we just started earlier this year.
Got it. How many deals in resale for the last 3 years since 2021? Give me like a rough number.
Say 6 to 10.
6 to 10 in total or per year?
6 to 10 in total.
In total. Okay, perfect. And then all the people in your phone that you have in your contacts, like the boys that you went to high school with, that your partner did, the whatever you did before 2021, I don't know if it was school or work, those need to all be in a CRM, because as you go through the process of sorting through all the cold leads, don't forget the warm business. I can speak very, very deeply about the process of pre-con, man, because in 10 years, I think I've done 2,000 units, but I'm not even like one of the top agents in the city when it comes to that. We've done a lot, but all my business, I've never, not $1, not one penny actually has been spent on Google AdWords and Facebook. I sold all those 2,000 units to people in my database.
Wow.
Okay.
Hats off to you guys. I watch all your stuff, and this is one of those things that I was aware of earlier on, but it's crazy. 2,000 units is insane.
Yeah, and so I tell you that again, not to impress you, brother. It's more to drill home. I can't have you forget all those people that you guys know. I know it's tougher. To call your cousin, your past client, someone that you went to high school with that you haven't spoken to. I always make the joke, brother, like, if you check in with my team, like, I have ex-girlfriends who are in my CRM.
Wow.
Yeah, for real. Like, my guys call, and I'm sure one of them have said, "Can you tell Jazz to fuck off?" And like, I don't want to hear from him anymore. I was never an ass to anybody in general, let alone like ex-girlfriends and stuff. But bro, they get my emails. They get me on social media. They get phone calls from my team to do a financial checkup from the neck up. Like, think about it. I'm 42. I've been married for 20 years. Okay, so 25 years ago, whoever I was dating is in my CRM, man. Like, I'm sick about it. I know I'm built a little differently because this is all I've done in my whole life. And I had no choice, right? Like, if this didn't work for me, I'd be fucked. Like, I can't change a toilet or you know what I mean? Like, I can't do any of that other stuff. That's not my skill set. So it's why I have so many tactics and strategies, but I always want to get especially my pre-con friends and brothers and sisters in the business, that you're just leaving so much money on the table. And especially right now, like the phone's not ringing as much and the emails are not dinging as much because pre-con's not a hot topic right now. We're going through a little bit of a lull. We're going to get out of it because that's the inventory in the greater Toronto area. So we're going to get out of it. It's just that when you're in this lull, you have to fill up your bucket in terms of leads in some different way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Of course, I hear you.
Get the names and numbers from your contacts into a CRM. Call everybody. Okay, you don't need to go as far as calling the ex-girlfriend. That's okay. I still would, because the worst she's gonna say is, or you know what I mean, like is don't ever call me again. And then you can say, okay, I got it this time. I'm sorry. I will not call you again. And then you move on to the next person. It's a lot better than spending time and waiting for the Mickey Mouse at hotmail.com. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. No, I feel you.
Okay, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for being live on Jazz Tack, our podcast today, brother.
Thank you, Jazz. I really appreciate the insight. I'm definitely going to take a moment to unpack everything you said and definitely have applied to my business.
Awesome. And if it feels valuable, send this episode to your partner as well. Make sure he or she follows me as well.
Absolutely. Will do.
Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you, Jazz.
Thank you.
Have a great rest.
I hope you guys caught that. See, I asked if it was valuable. He said yes. And then I said, hey, if it was valuable, as you mentioned, share it with your partner. Just one new person into the community. And then you build it from the ground up. That's how it's done. You saw it kind of in action. I hope you can catch on like the live cooking that has to happen and how we make the sauce. That's how it's actually done. One more call today for live coaching calls live on Jazz Tack, our podcast. It's Pavit. If you're listening, get your phone on. I know a lot of you are watching the podcast live. And so I really appreciate that, but make sure your phone is on.
Hello?
Pavit?
Speaking.
Jazz Tackar calling. You're live on the Jazz Tackar podcast, my man.
Sir, how are you?
Just living the dream, brother. How you doing?
That's fantastic, sir.
How can I bring you some value today?
Okay, so I wanted to speak to you. I mean, I love what you do, love the work that you do.
Thank you.
I actually just wanted to come in and, talk to you, meet you potentially, because we kind of, I do mortgages, right? And my background is in sales as well. So I kind of wanted to, I believe I asked your colleague there to come in and see how if we can potentially work together or just, learn from you with script,
look,
the whole 9 yards.
You got me right now, and you got my undivided attention. No, I'm not trying to be too cool or anything of that sort, like in terms of meeting with me in person.
Understood.
Just from a schedule perspective and a timing perspective, man, it's crazy for me.
I get it.
Hence why I started to do this. We started to get a lot of people reaching out, wanting to come in, and it's just like I can only be in one place at a time, right? And
okay, so let's do this.
Just
let me tell you where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then let's go from there.
Go.
So here's where we're at. Okay. So I was doing this by myself. My background's in door-to-door sales, so I've done sales. I did sales for 3.5 years. After that, 3.5 years of door-to-door sales, then a couple 2-3 years of startups, and then I got into selling mortgages. Been selling mortgages for 4 years now. I was by myself for the past 3 years. Set up my office at the beginning of this year. We have our office in Oakville, starting in January. And now we've grown to a team of 9 people, agents coming in full time, doing mortgage sales. Pretty much very similar to how I see you doing it on Instagram. Whereas, we have a script that everyone uses the script. We have a sales system, objection handling, just taking control, all those whole 9 yards. The bigger thing, if I want to ask you a question, the question would be is, yes, and I've honestly in the past done this before, reached where I am right now, have a team of 9 to 10 people, 15 people. But what would you suggest is what? So the thing is this: I'm kind of looking ahead to see if we go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 50. There's going to be obviously challenges and things that we're going to encounter. So I kind of want to set up my systems in my office in a way in which, so that obviously challenges are still going to be there, but set it up in a way in which it's structured so that so that we don't encounter those mistakes that you've probably seen people do over and over again.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where the question is there. So is it, should you do it? Like what's the question?
No. So I'm doing it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Right. I just want to know how you set your sales teams up.
Okay.
Right. How are they structured? How are they? I mean, how do you make sure that everyone's hitting the numbers, and how structurally how is it structured?
Yeah, perfect.
To kind of grow wide and deep.
Yeah. So I think the best way to, when you're thinking about it from as a team leader perspective, there's two things that you need to focus on, which is recruiting and retaining, right? You need to recruit new people and you need to retain the people that you have. I've always had the strategy and the tactic that what's mostly important to me out of those two is the retention. So I first and foremost focus majority of my efforts, not 100%. Obviously, I have to recruit new people, but I first focus my time on retaining the ones that I have. And you do that by having a financial model that makes sense for people, because money matters. Okay. One. Number two is support. That's what I've come to realize. Support, accountability, really a therapist. Okay. And I'll tell you how I do that. I do that by because the money is pretty easy. You can kind of figure that out. Yeah, you might have to adjust along the way, but whatever split you want to put them on. Okay. I would say sway towards making it more fair for them because
100%.
Because money matters, right? Money matters. Correct. And if somebody sees a place, even though that it might not give the same support that you do, but if they're making more, they got to pay bills, they might leave. So number one is financial from a retention perspective. Number two, now it's about support, culture, environment, accountability. Every single day with my core team that shows up every single day to the office, I don't have an office myself. I don't have a desk. I don't have a computer. I only have my phone and a chair. And even that chair is used by, whoever in the office. And I just bop around all day. I know right now, today, how every single one of my staff members is feeling. We're at whatever it is, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I kind of have an idea where they're at mentally. I tell you that because to grow, which is going to be the second part, which is going to be recruiting, and I'm going to touch on that for you. But to do that, you need to have the foundation strong, and the foundation has to be strong from the leader's perspective of always being in mentorship and coaching mode. That's the real job of a leader, not to have them hit sales numbers at the start. Like, that's not the most important, because they should hit sales numbers if you are a good leader and giving them the right scripts and adapting. Like, I'm not like a true script person in the sense of like, here's the one script and never change it. I'm adapting it on a weekly 100%. Basis. And you know that as well, right? That will happen really effectively if they're happy. So my whole job as the leader to retain people is making sure that the culture is good. And that includes checking in on them once every 2 days for sure. Sometimes it's once every day. Like, you can check in with my team. I have a handshake with every single team member. I don't do that to be cool like kids. I do that because there's eye contact made when that happens, and I could just kind of feel it. Like, I'm using Bo a lot today because he's in my eyesight. He's one of my videographer editors. Like, I kind of just know when we do his handshake, it doesn't feel right some days, right? And it just doesn't. Like, I just kind of went through the motions, right? Where I now know that I'm going to check in on him in the next 48 hours Because something's probably going on in his life at home. So I
I
spend
see.
a lot of time with that. The second part of recruiting, brother, when you have a culture that is strong and happy, and you can then showcase that on social media, people want to be part of it. So I've done everything from a recruiting perspective for agents in the past, which is cold calling, cold emailing, private messaging, LinkedIn, and all that shit that people do. Nothing comes close to my recruiting process in the last 4 years, which is showcase my environment. I have more people reaching out to me now in the last 4 years than they ever did in the past 16 years. Let me say that again. I've had more people reach out to wanting to join my team inbound in the last 4 years that I've been doing content than I had in the last 16 years. Case in point, you're calling me. I know
Correct.
you're not.
And we kind of tried this strat. So the thing is, for social media also, I kind of pivoted because initially what we were on social media trying to get clients, but then what I realized, I spoke to other couple of mortgage brokers as well. They're like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? Getting clients. I was like, okay, well, why are they saying it doesn't work? I was like, okay, because we're all trying to chase the wrong thing. So we pivoted. I pivoted my social media now to actually recruit. And we've actually gotten a person already
Congratulations.
who saw us on TikTok, and he wanted to see see what we do, how we do it,
100%.
and it actually works. It does. I 100% agree with you.
I'm going to leave you with one other thing to do. Here's the best thing to do,
Yeah.
which is going to help with retaining and recruiting. Did you say you have a partner or no? Sorry.
I do have a partner.
Perfect. Here's what I would do. You and your partner should start a podcast. Okay? It's the word is a podcast, but what you're really doing is you're training your current mortgage brokers. Okay. So it's going to be training for them while they're in their car. They're going to be listening to you guys. You guys are training. You're going to do this every week, once a week. I usually tell people once a month, all this, like what I'm telling you guys, because you sound quite ambitious. I need you to do this once a week. It's your fucking weekly meeting, essentially, and that you're allowing people to listen to in the car, the current 9 that you have. And then you're also going to put that out on YouTube so other people see it. So all the inside, what you think is the insider trader secrets that you have, the truth of the matter is you and I have no insider trader secrets because everything's online.
There are no secrets.
So just bring it to the forefront. And then I guarantee you, like not even maybe, I guarantee you, if you do a podcast once a week for the next 2 years, you're going to have so many people lined up. I'm telling you that because today is episode 253. You get what I'm saying? Like like 253, man. Like there's a lot of episodes.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying it to get the flowers from you, but I appreciate it. But what I'm trying to say to you is that I'm not telling you because I read this in a fucking book. I'm telling you because like I did it. And I'm doing it, right? And the amount of people that reach out, we had to bring up the bare minimum of requirements to join our team because we had so many people reaching out.
Correct.
That's where you're gonna get to.
I agree with that.
Pavitt, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. If this was valuable, was it valuable?
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Tell your mortgage brokers on the team.
Sorry?
Tell the mortgage brokers on the team about Jazz Tack, our podcast then.
I will.
I appreciate it.
Sir.
Thanks a lot, Pavitt.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
It's every time. If I brought somebody value, what's wrong with me asking for them to share it with their friends? I'm not asking them to buy something. I'm saying just press share. And that brings me to you. If this was valuable,